Welcome to the Vault Studios NFL podcast, an Australian twist on all things NFL. The boys are cracking into a nice cold beer from Burnley Brewing. Let's join them.
Hello and welcome to the Vault Studios NFL podcast. I'm your host, Richie JA. Joining me, as always, not in the studio, is James Arthur. How are you, mate?
Good, thank you, Richie. How are you?
Can't complain. It's football's bearing down on us every day.
Friday. The Hall of Fame game is on Friday.
It is really hard to count that, but yes, you are right. It is on Friday.
It's Jacksonville, Las Vegas. Do you reckon any starters will play in it? Surely not.
Nah, absolutely not. They'll suit up. They'll probably warm up as a part of that, getting used to get a game ready, but there's no way they play.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll quickly just mention our sponsors before we get on to everything. We've got US Sports Gear. Head to ussportsgear.com.au if you're looking for any equipment in Australia for your upcoming season, which is nearing very quickly. Head to ussportsgear.com.au, and also our good friends at Burnley Brewing. It is the middle of the day, so we're not having a Burnley today, but thank you to our long time and great supporters at Burnley Brewing, and also thank you to all our Patreons for their support. Very much appreciated. And yeah, Richie, let's get stuck into it. Do you want to start with the latest news that has just come out of NFL headquarters?
So the NFL haven't passed on the penalty. The judge or whoever hands down penalties. Good thing we held over one day, JA. Deshaun Watson's suspension has dropped. It is 6 games. The NFLPA clearly knew this was coming. They tweeted or put out a statement about 5 hours before the announcement that they will stand by any decision. So they clearly knew it was only going to be 6 games, because to put out a statement like that and have him get a year handed down, they never would have accepted that. So really, really kind of gross from the PA. But, 6 games. I don't know what to say with the NFL, and when it comes to suspensions, I don't think they ever really get it right. But 6 games it is.
It's a fucking disgrace. That's what it is. There's no point sugarcoating it. We knew this was coming. We've been saying for months the reason this is taking so long. It stinks of collusion. It stinks of NFL saying to this woman, don't give him long. It doesn't add up to any of the other suspensions. Calvin Ridley bet on his team to win and got a year, and he gets 6 weeks. Ezekiel Elliott pulled down a woman's top at a parade, and he got 6 weeks, the same as what this guy got for sexually assaulting 20 or 30 women. It is now, and then in the clause, they then have the fucking audacity to put in her statement that he's not allowed to get massages from anyone outside the Cleveland Browns organization. So basically she's saying this guy's a piece of shit and he's not allowed around other masseuses because he's going to whip his cock out and show it to him because he's a sack of shit and he can't help himself. But he doesn't deserve a suspension, and he doesn't deserve a fine. This guy is going to lose $340,000 in fees from his first 6 games he's going to miss this year, because all his fucking money is guaranteed and front-loaded this contract, which the Browns knew before they traded for him. This is all a massive collusion. Everyone knew about this before it was done. There's no way the Browns would have made that trade without knowing this information or having some sort of insight into what sort of suspension he'd be up for. I think it's a travesty. I think the NFL, like if I was a female, obviously they don't give a fuck about your rights. They clearly couldn't give a shit. I don't feel sorry for the women that it happened to, because they settled with him, and I'm sure they got what they wanted for them to settle. Like, I don't know what it was. I don't know if they got paid or whatever they got, or an apology, whatever. I don't know. But for them to settle, in my mind, they got what they want. It's shit it happened to them, but they got the outcome they deserved out of it. But I feel sorry for the optics of this. It's just a terrible fucking look for the NFL, but they don't care. This will blow over. This will just be, Deshaun Watson will be all pro this year and bring the Browns to the playoffs, and everyone will forget about it because he's good at football. It's a disgrace. And we expected this. Doesn't make it any easier to swallow. The Browns are absolutely getting away with it. I guess the only thing I can hope is that this fucking piece of shit shows his true colors again, which he will. He'll do it again, and then he'll get caught, and they come at him harder. I think it's disgraceful. I liked Deshaun Watson. I thought he was a really good football player. This has completely changed my opinion of him. He's now in the Tyreek Hill piece of shit category, if you ask me. The NFL have just allowed him to get away with it. Oh, and they said, he missed all of last year. He didn't miss all last year. He got paid in full for all last year. That was a team decision by the Texans. Nothing to do with him. He got paid all his money for last year. So this guy has had zero punishment other than he's missing 6 games. That's it. He got a paid holiday last year. So, and turn up all this shit about how he's been affected mentally. I couldn't give a crap. Couldn't give a crap. I hope it blows your fucking mind up, you sack of shit. So that's my opinion of it.
Yeah, anyone like him playing the mental health card, fucking spare me.
You don't know the toll this is on me.
How's all the people who've been assaulted, mate? How do you think they feel right now?
Oh no, they feel great about it. It was no problem for them. It was Deshaun Watson. They got assaulted by Deshaun Watson. They're fucking lucky, mate. They think themselves lucky.
I think the smartest thing that can be done here is the NFL appeals for their own PR. I think they have to.
They have to. If they don't, it shows that it proves collusion if they don't. This is more collusion than our fucking fantasy football league, Richard.
Oh, mate, what a dumpster fire.
All know the collusion that goes on in there.
And then Halls just cracks it and fucking throws me a hospital hand pass. God. Anyway, I really do think the NFL has to appeal. Like, they just have to. And then whatever happens from there, they can go, well, we appeal, we exhausted the options. This is what's collective bargaining and whatever. But if they don't appeal, it's a real dirty, ugly look. I don't like when people compare it to the Calvin Ridley one, because that is so cut and dry.
Yeah,
like you did do it. You're guilty.
You know it's the rules.
The penalty was spelt out.
Yep.
And also there's a moron tax on that too. Like, you're a moron. Like, what the hell are you doing? Whether you're betting on your game or anyone else's game, you can't do it. And whilst the NFL might not care about women, they care about the gambling money. I can guarantee you that. So you can't compare those things. They're apples to apples. One you can sort of compare it back to is Ray Rice. I said, if there was video of this, his career would be over, because we can all kind of imagine it away in our mind. It's like Robert Kraft. Like, imagine those video of this stuff. Like, they would get ended. And the fact there was no video, no criminal charges, no guilty verdicts on the civil suits, that's how they can get away with this number. Now, the NFL probably will and should appeal, and whatever happens, happens. But, yeah. But
I hope they do the right thing, even just for the optics alone. I hope they do.
Yeah, or put him on that commissioner's exempt list last year. So at least he didn't get paid last year. And then you could say, well, we took all his money off him last year and he's going to get a 6 weeks suspension, something. But he's basically skated on this. Even if he's paying out $1 million per woman to silence this, what's it, $30 million? Just under $250 million guaranteed. Now, I know a lot is going to go in tax, but there is still plenty left over.
He's going to live a really, really happy, great life. Good on him. And then his pictures, he's just such a sly. I used to look at him in such a different light. He just looks like such a sly prick now. Like, he just shits me. I said, it's amazing how quickly the optics on someone can change, because I really like Deshaun Watson. And I think I'm disappointed as well. That's the most thing. Like, even as an adult, I look up to these guys as well. Like, so I can't imagine what kids look up to these guys at, but I look up to these players and they just constantly let you down. Like, it's disgraceful, and they get away with it. He should be kicked out of the NFL for a full season. A full season was the only fair thing. Sorry, mate. Full season, no pay, bad luck. See you next year. Have fun. Get out of training camp now. You're not allowed to practice or do anything. Have fun with Jacoby Brissett for a year. Browns.
As they say, never meet your heroes.
Never meet your heroes.
I don't know how you look at me every day.
That's very good. I like that. Shall we go on to some local gridiron?
Sure.
So at the moment, there's currently a women's championship going on, the IFAF World. Is it a World Cup? No, just a World Championship. What's the difference between a World Cup and a World Championship, Richard?
Nothing. It's whatever the governing body calls it. So the World Cup, if somebody says to you the World Cup, what do you immediately think of? Soccer. So they go for different terms to not get confused.
So I've got a few thoughts on it. Australia have got a team in it. It's great. I'm glad that, I'm a big supporter of women's football. Richie, you know that. I always have been. I've helped teams get up in Victoria along. I've coached them. I've been a part of them with my club where I'm the president. The problem I have with this World Cup, right, is it just seems like a fucking holiday. Like you're playing 4 games. It's 4 days, first of all. 3 days.
Or 3 games.
3 games. It's very unorganized. Apparently, Mexico are playing now, even though the rumors they didn't play their first game because the Mexican organizers took their money and didn't pay for their flight, so they couldn't get there to actually play because someone stole all the money for the tournament. I don't know. I guess my issue with, and this is more of it in Australia, I don't care about the quality of the football and stuff like that. Like, I play in a crap fucking football league. Like, in the perspective of the world, football in Australia or at this World Cup, whether it's men, women's, or children, it's fucking dog shit. If you're looking from the top down at the NFL and looking at this, it's crap. So we're all crap, and it's nothing to do with that. And I'm quite comfortable with that. My problem with it is, right, there's one state that plays women's football in Australia. That's WA. I think they had 3 teams. Happy to be corrected, but I think it was 3 teams last season. Victoria didn't have one. Queensland didn't. Victoria couldn't even get 2 teams to play an exhibition game. They couldn't get 2 teams from the whole league to play in an exhibition game where the league were going to pay for it and give them uniforms and all that sort of stuff. Couldn't even get them a full team together, 2 full teams together. So why are we sending a team to the World Cup or the World Championships? It seems like an outrageous waste of money for Gridiron Australia, and I don't know how much money they've put in. I have no idea. I've heard it was about 15 grand. I don't know. It's not a rich sport. It's not a rich community, this sport. We can't afford to be wasting money sending, like, that 15 grand could go to so much better things. And it's just, again, showing that the governing body of Gridiron Australia consistently just don't know what they're doing. And it's, I think it's a disgrace, personally. Not that they're playing. Good luck to them. Wish them all the best. I'll support in any way to get women's football up in this state, in this country, whatever you guys need. But I think sending them and spending money, I think it's a waste of the players' money. I think it's a waste of the league's money. I think it's a waste of the sport's money. I really do believe that. Good luck to them against Mexico, who are apparently now playing, even though all their money got stolen, but apparently they found a way to play. I hope they win. I will say, I watched the game. Jordan DeMizio is just a level above everyone on that field. It was quite obvious. So well done to her. I thought she was really impressive. Same with a few of the other. Heather, friend of the show, Heather Marini was the quarterback for a few drives. They swapped quarterbacks in and out all the time. Not sure what the mindset was around that. I know, like, Heather plays semi-professional football in America. I'd probably stick with her if I was them, but I'm not paid to make those decisions or be there to make those decisions. So I don't know. I just think it's got a bit of a, it's a bit of a tarnish to it. I think it feels like something that's been thrown together really quickly. Oh, let's just book a weekend in Finland and go over there, like 3 days. It seems silly. Seems outrageous. Very, very poorly organized, if you ask me. And it looks that way. So that's my take on it. I don't know, Richie, if you want to have a take on it or not.
Nah, I'll just throw stones at JA, so we'll move on.
Let's get into some real previews. Let's get into the AFC. Jesus, Richie, right now you look like Jesus as that sun comes through the window behind you. Let's get into the AFC North. So last year, surprisingly, the Baltimore Ravens were last in the division at 8-9. You had the Browns at 8-9 at third, Pittsburgh at 9-7-1, who actually made the playoffs, and the Cincinnati Bengals, who we all know went on that absolutely amazing run to the Super Bowl where they just fell short, but they finished 10-7. Do you want to start in Baltimore, Rich?
Yeah, hit by injuries a lot last year, but it was only a couple of years ago that I feel like they had, I feel like that every 2 years they have, this terrible run of injuries where I think it was 2 years ago they entered with something like 35 free agents because so many guys were signed to like 1 year deals just to get through to the end of the year. So injury certainly hit them hard last year. And then if you look at this year, I think top to bottom, they've probably got the most talent in the division. But their biggest thing right now is, they've never been afraid to let that talent leave. And they certainly had a little bit of that this year. Yep. And then the Lamar Jackson contract situation is just hanging out there.
Is he at camp?
It's the elephant in the room.
I think he reported to camp.
Yeah, well, he represents himself. So a lot of people don't know.
I love that.
Won't know that. So he represents himself. So as the organization, you have to deal with him differently.
Yeah.
Because when it's an agent, you can kind of say, come on, mate, go pull your bloke's head in and tell him he ain't that good.
Yeah.
Make him understand. But you can't tell the player that because it's the player. So it's going to be really interesting. I don't know about you, Jay, but you and I have always loved Lamar Jackson.
I love him.
The Baltimore did trade back into the first round with that very last pick to get him. And I think can he be the crop of young quarterbacks behind him is really impressive. And will they go past him? I think a bunch of them probably will. But at the same time, what else are you going to do? Well, he's won an MVP.
I can't understand in any world how Kyler Murray gets that contract and Lamar Jackson doesn't, if not a little bit more, without the study clause, because we all know.
Well, there's plenty of people. Just quickly on that, you signed it, mate. Don't come out and complain after this. You signed it. You signed it.
Booger McFarland's come out and said it's racial. They never put it on a white person contract.
Well, they've never put it on anyone.
There's got to be a reason you do that just quietly for Kyler Murray. Like I don't know. You don't just sign it.
If he didn't know it was in there, fire agent and read your contracts.
I think
I got no time. I got no time for this. He knew it was in there.
I care less about it.
Like what a load of shit.
With Lamar Jackson though, pay him. Simple as that. He's won an MVP. He can easily do it again. He doesn't have great receivers. I think Bateman, there's maybe a chance to step up this year, but I don't like their receiver group. It's the one thing that scares me. I like Andrews. I think he's a really good tight end. I think getting Dobbins back is huge for the team, and Gus Edwards. That's huge for the running attack. It allows them to play that split back that they love to play a lot. With Lamar, it's basically like having three running backs. They've improved the offensive line. They're going to get Ronnie Stanley back, who barely played last year. They drafted Linderbaum in the first round, the center, who everyone seems to think is going to be a lock-in starter, 17-game sort of guy. Most teams have had great success with centers in the first round the last few years. You look at, was it Bradbury last year for, Humphreys last year for the Chiefs, ended up being the best center in football. So they've had success. I think the offense is going to be fine. It's going to depend on Lamar. I think they're going to be good. And then defensively, I think Owe is going to step up again. Campbell's back from injury. Pierce is back from injury. They've got Queen, who's a really good young middle linebacker. They brought Marcus Williams over from the New Orleans Saints, who's a really good safety. They've got Peters, Humphrey, and Fuller, who are all very good corners. So I don't think they have, I think they have strengths everywhere. I think they're talented. But at the end of the day, like, this is all going to come down to Lamar Jackson and how he plays and how they design an offense around him. If teams are going to continue to not let him run the ball, it's going to be challenging. But they've improved the offensive line. They've got running backs back. I think they'll be able to go back to that running attack with some play action and throw the ball downfield. As I said, I think this is a really hard division to pick. I really do think that this team could, like I said, they were 2 games off. They were 2 divisions. The reason they became last in the division is because they were 1-5. If they win 3 games in the division instead, they win the division. So that, they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Bengals once, they win the division. It's as simple as that. So I think it's, I think it's important to understand how tight this division is going to be. It always is tight. They can also add some receivers before the season starts. They don't have to go in with these receivers. I think look to them to maybe add an Odell Beckham Jr. or something like that along the way. Someone of that caliber, a high-end free agent that's available and go from there. But I've got faith in Lamar Jackson. I like him. I'm willing to hedge my bets. I don't know if they'll win the division. We'll wait till the end when I kind of put my money where my mouth is. But I think they're going to be much better than they were last year, purely due to the injuries they're not going to have. And if they're not, then you probably need to start looking at what they're going to do with the offense, with the team as a whole, because they need to kind of maybe bottom out and start again. And I don't think you can do that with Lamar Jackson.
No, you can't waste it. If you give him a contract this year, you can't afford any bottoming out. And if you are going to do that, quite frankly, you may as well blow up the coaching staff too. Harbaugh's been there a long time. And if you're going to reset, then reset everything. Now, I don't think that's the right move for these guys. But if you're going to do that, then you got to do it all or nothing.
Yep.
I think they're going to be good.
I agree.
I really do. I don't think there's much more to put it in than that. We talk about ceilings and floors. This team's ceilings sort of 12 games, but at the same token, I feel like their floor is like 7 or 8.
Yeah, I think so too. I think if they were to have less than 7 wins, it would be a disaster of a season.
Moving on, Cleveland Browns. Do you want to start, or do you want me to go?
No, I can start. Look, what's their first 6 games? Because this is what's going to decide.
Jets, Steelers, Falcons, Chargers, Patriots.
So they've got to win. They've got to win Carolina, Jets, and I think if they can split their first 6 games, because the bottom line is, no matter what we feel about Deshaun Watson, we're now into the football part of it. He's an outstanding quarterback. He's a top 5. He's a top 10 quarterback when he plays easily, and he's probably a top 5 quarterback. So he's outstanding as a football player. If they can split the time with Jacoby Brissett or whoever I think it's Jacoby Brissett, if they can split the first 6 games, come out of there 3-3, and then get him back and get him for, the Ravens, Bengals, Dolphins, Bills, Bucks for that really tough run, they're a chance. What I like about these guys is I think defensively they're very, very talented. I think
they are really good.
They've still got Clowney. A lot of people don't understand they've still got Clowney, who's a really good player. Newsome is a first-round pick. Denzel Ward's a first-round pick. And who's the other Williams they've got? Grady Williams. I think he was a second-round pick, but he was actually supposed to be a first-round pick that fell, and he's been okay. They've got Owusu Koromoa, who everyone loves. He had a really good rookie season, and then you tie that all in a neat little bow. They potentially have the best defensive lineman in football in Myles Garrett, who was an absolute wrecking ball last year and is due to win some sort of MVP at some point. Like, he's kind of like TJ Watt. He's had 3 or 4 years where he could probably should have won it and dropped off down the stretch. If he puts together a full season, I think he's going to win it comfortably. So I think that defense, if they can just play well at the start of the season, Clowney, they've still got Jadeveon Clowney, as I said before. I still think he's a really valuable football player. Everyone seems to get caught up in the fact that he can't get sacks. Who knows? Don't really care. I think he's valuable to have him on the field is valuable, especially when you've got a guy like Myles Garrett on the other side. The defensive line. They're an offensive line that was hurt last year and are now healthy. Wills, Conklin, Bitonio, Miles Teller and Joel Bitonio are the 2 best starting tandem guards in the NFL.
Really good.
No team has 2 as good. I think there's probably 3 or 4 guys better than both of them individually, but I think they're probably around the 5 and 6 mark in the league, and they play on the same team.
Same team, yeah.
Love to play a center next to 2 of those dudes. It'd be very enjoyable, I imagine, because they can certainly play. They've got Kareem Hunt in the backfield with Nick Chubb. I think Nick Chubb's one of the most underrated running backs in football. Some people don't think he's that good. It just blows my mind that you can't find, like, he is such a good football player. They've got Njoku at tight end, who I still think has got a lot to give. They franchise tagged him, so he's going to be incredibly motivated. Or did they re-sign him in the end?
I think they've done a deal.
They've done a deal with him, so he's going to be motivated to get some stuff done. They've got Amari Cooper. I know people have just gone completely off Amari Cooper. I've watched Amari Cooper for the past 3 seasons. He's not a bad football player. And if he has Deshaun Watson throwing you the ball, he's going to be successful in that offense. It's that simple. He's an elite route runner. He is great after the catch. He breaks tackles. He does the right stuff. Thinking back now, it's actually stupid that the Dallas Cowboys let him go because it was a salary dump and they've got $28 million salary cap free and he was only costing them 18. Like, it seems like he'd be better off being on the Cowboys, and they gave him away for a 5th round pick. Considering what wide receivers have gone for this season, what AJ Brown went for, I think Amari Cooper is every bit as good as AJ Brown, if not better, and has produced better than him. So I don't understand the dislike around him. As a Cowboys fan, I shouldn't like him, and I still do. I think he's a terrific football player, and I'm excited to see what he's like there. So he's productive, and I think he'll be very good in that offense. So I think if Cleveland get it all together, if they get Watson back and he's the Watson he used to be, this is a playoff team. The trouble's going to be if they start 0-6, right? They start all 1-5 and then roll into that slate of games after, which is Baltimore, division game, tough to win. Bengals, Super Bowl runner-up, division game, tough to win. Dolphins, explosive offense. They're who knows what they're going to be, but we'll know by that point at week 10. Then you've got the Bills, who are most of us predicting to be the number 1 seed. The Bucks, who are most of us predicting to be the number 1 seed in the NFC. And then it gets a bit better with Houston, but then they get Bengals and Ravens, and then they've got Pittsburgh twice in there as well. Like, it's not an easy. It's a very, very challenging schedule for them, and I think the first 6 games could really hurt them without Watson. And to be fair, I hope it does. I hope they lose the first 6 games and can never catch up. Personally,
Yeah, I can't hope the same. This defense is legit for real. There's some good defense in this. I think Pittsburgh's defense is really good. I think their offense is going to be garbage. Yep. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Like those first 6 weeks are so important, but they have got some absolute gimmies in there, especially with that defense. I'll be shocked. Brissett might only have to score 17 points. Like, it seriously might be enough in some of those games, especially with Atlanta and the Jets. A great grudge match week 1, 2 with the Panthers, Baker Mayfield. It's going to be awesome. There's no way he doesn't win that job for nothing else. How angry he will be week 1 and how desperate he'll be to beat the Browns.
Do you reckon he wins? Do you reckon Baker wins? He surely does. The NFL narrative.
It'd make for a good storyline.
And he tells Deshaun Watson he's a piece of shit as he beats him running down
on the way out.
Like that.
It's like I might be unpopular, but never did what you did.
Yeah, 100%.
I think this team's going to be really good.
What's their floor for you?
Even if it all goes wrong early, I still think the floor is 5 games.
Yeah, I think so too. I think if they lose the first 6, they could still win 5 games. But I think what's more likely is they split probably the first 6. They probably split them, go 3-3. If they come out 3-3, they're in a really good position to win some division games and get going from there. Because the big thing about the Deshaun suspension is he's still out of practice up until the first week of the season. So he's going to have the offense down pat. He'll just have to be prepared to go. He could be rusty, but he was so good. He was such a good football player at Houston. He carried that terrible team to the playoffs every year. And this is a much better team than he had at Houston.
Yeah. And I think the ceiling, just because of those first few weeks, I feel like the ceiling is probably 11.
Yeah, I think the same.
11 12 games. But that should be enough for a wild card. If not the division. I mean,
10 wins won it last year. Yeah. This is a tough division. I think there'll be 2 teams from this division, I think.
The Pittsburgh Steelers.
Wow, look.
No Big Ben, finally. Bye-bye.
Let's just say, I think defensively they're going to be a top 15 defense, no doubt. Probably top 10. Potentially top 5. Like
there's some really good talent on that defense. Like,
AJ Watt's a superstar. Haywood's a superstar. I really like Bush. They signed Miles Jack, who was really good at the Jaguars before he got hurt last year. Fitzpatrick and Edmonds are good safeties. In particular, Fitzpatrick's really good. They've got a couple of good corners. And Wallace has come over from Buffalo, who's a solid, long, lengthy corner. And he'll join Witherspoon and Sutton. So I think that defense is strong. It's all going to come down to TJ Watt. He's a game wrecker. He was the defensive MVP last year. I think it's impossible if he has a similar season and is a defensive MVP candidate. That defense will certainly be top 10 because not many teams with that sort of guy on them are outside the top 10. So I agree with everyone. Their defense is great. I agree with everyone that Najee Harris is a really good running back. He's productive and he does a good job. That's where it ends with me in this team. I'm not signing up for the Trubisky race. I just don't think that's going to work.
Who starts QB week 1? Who starts?
Trubisky.
You reckon? Yeah, I've seen that movie. It fucking sucks. That movie sucks.
Hear me out with this, right? The O-line's bad. Trubisky can move. Their mindset will be we're gonna boot, we're gonna move, we're gonna try and get someone throwing on the run, and that's Trubisky's strengths.
Kenny Pickett's not slow.
Yeah, he's not Trubisky. Trubisky's a very good athlete. That's probably one of his strong suits. They've got I like Charles Johnson as a receiver, but he's a slot timing route receiver. You kind of need good quarterbacks if you're going to run those sorts of routes. Like that's why you look at guys like Amendola and Edelman, like in particular, Julian, where's Welker? Like super successful at the Patriots with Tom Brady, who's a timing and, elite timing quarterback. And then he goes to Peyton Manning at Denver, another elite timing quarterback. Those sort of slot guys thrive with those sorts of quarterbacks.
But if you're talking about receiver, they tried to address it in the draft. I mean, they took
Pickens.
Yeah, the other one is somebody the third. I've forgotten it. Guy out of Memphis.
I talk Pickens, who's a Bulldog. I've got it up now.
I've gone.
Calvin Austin?
Yes, the third.
Yeah.
That's him.
Out of Memphis.
So look, they've tried to address it because they know it's an issue. Juju obviously left.
They're great with receivers as well. Great draft receivers.
I was going to say, if I needed somebody to draft a receiver for my life, I want the Pittsburgh Steelers to do it because they're really good at it. So you would have to think they've seen something in those guys that will fit into their system.
Yeah.
But it's a quarterback league. It's a quarterback league. There's no crappy quarterbacks don't win playoff games very often. Sometimes they do. It's rare. You tend to got to go back a bit or something a bit weird happened. It just doesn't happen much. If you're a crappy quarterback, your team's going to be crappy. They've got a crappy quarterback. Now, Pickens, I don't know about him yet. But as I said, I've seen the Trubisky movie. It's not a very good movie.
And the O-line is awful. Like the O-line, it's a bottom 5 O-line. Like with all honesty, like I hope they're good, but I don't think they're going to be consistently good runners of the football. I genuinely like the best players. James Daniels
got his work.
Chicago Bears just cut, and the Chicago Bears are just dreadful.
Theirs isn't that great either. So
I think this is the
Steelers fans
to be. I think, look, in saying that though, it wouldn't shock me if they went 9-7 again and made the playoffs. Like, because it's Tomlin. Tomlin just finds ways to win, whether we like him or not, and he's a cheerleader or not, which we both agree he is. I don't think he's an amazing X's and O's sort of coach, but I'm also not in the room.
That's not what he is.
He's a motivator, and he wins. So the narrative has to be that he's a winner. How is he going to find a way to win 10 games this year? Who knows? If anyone can do it, it's probably him. Him and Bill Belichick. They're the two most consistent coaches I've seen in the era I've been watching football. All he does is win. He's never had a losing record once. I think that's impressive. So if anyone can get this team to win 9-10 games, it's Tomlin. I just don't see how he's going to do it. And I'm not willing to hedge my bets to the fact they're going to do it. I think they'll be bottom of the division. I think they're probably a 6-win team, which is not bad. Certainly not 6-7. I think their ceiling's probably 9 wins. Maybe 9.5, same as last year. If the quarterback position goes well, say Pickett's the next coming of Justin Herbert, hey, maybe we're having a different conversation. But from what I've seen and the reports coming out from him is he's not even going to start week 1. We're going to see Trubisky, who, it could be what's the word when you come back out of the fire like a phoenix. I can't think of the word I want.
That's it. Rising from the fire like a phoenix. That's it.
No,
rejuvenation,
rejuvenating. A career rejuvenation. Trubisky, yeah, could be something like that. He could restart his career. Who knows? Everyone seems to think it's possible, but I know I've seen him. I've seen him in Chicago. It was fucking dreadful. So I'm not signing up for it. Bottom of the division for me.
Yeah, it's probably headed that way. Let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals. Fresh off a Super Bowl appearance, their fans had the ride of their lives last year. I don't know about you, Jay, but I was certainly rooting for him in the Super Bowl.
Me too.
I would have loved to have seen them win. It's one of those classic things. Hadn't they suffered enough? They have got just such an exciting quarterback. And whilst they kind of went on a bit of a run last year, I don't think that's really them.
They played above what they were.
Oh, definitely. But there are pieces there.
Are you sensing a sophomore slump for me, like of this team? A Super Bowl hangover? I don't know.
Well, he's going into his 3rd year, remember, so it's a bit hard to be a sophomore slump. But
not for Burrow. Burrow is probably one of the most guys I've got the most confidence in. I think this offense is going to be
the team in general.
They won a lot of close games last year. Like, they gave up 9 sacks in a fucking divisional playoff game and won. If that happens again, they don't win. And we know that. We know that was a complete anomaly. Is that the right word? Got it right? It's a big word for me. But you know what I mean? Like, have they improved their offensive line? Yeah. Like, Karras at center. Yeah, look, I'm not going to get super excited. He was the backup in New England. Is he bad? No. Jonah Williams was solid last year. They've bought Lyle Collins over from Dallas, who I think he's a really good player. I've seen him at his best, and if he's at his best, he is he's a strong human being that can really help with the run. They've got Carmen, who was a second-round pick from last year. Jackson Carmen, he's going to play guard for them. So Alex Kappa, who's come over from your boys, the Bucks. Do I think they're really good on the offensive line? No, but I think they're probably mid-tier right now because I think Lyle Collins picks them up, and those other two guys, they're at least above or average to above average at most positions now, not below average everywhere. So I think they're going to be better. Their receivers are the three of them, Higgins, Chase, and Boyd. I think Chase is going to be like him and Justin Jefferson are just going to fight out for being the next best receiver for the next 10 years. But in saying that, Odell Beckham had an incredible rookie year, and now he can't get on a fucking roster. So let that sink in. Like, things change quickly. Not saying that'll happen to Chase, but I like him a lot, and I hope he's successful. But I don't know. Where I'm more worried about is his defense. Yeah, they look good on paper. I think they played above themselves last year, the defense. I think Hendrickson's a really good pass rusher. I think Hubbard's a solid, tough defensive end. Awuzi's a good corner. Eli Apple's terrible. Teams should just be targeting him nonstop. I cannot believe they re-signed him after his performance in the Super Bowl. Shows the state of cornerback play in this league that you have to bring a guy like that back. I think Jesse Bates is an outstanding free safety, one of the better free safeties in the league. But I don't know. They won a lot of close games last year, and I'm just feeling like that luck's not going to come back to them again. With Baltimore Ravens being a lot better, I think Pittsburgh are going to be strong. I think it's probably safe to say you can split the division games for this division. For, when I look to predict it, you'd split all the division games. And then in saying that, when it all comes down to Joe Burrow, we just saw how magical he was last year. Maybe this is going to be Joe Burrow's career, that he's going to win these big games, that he's going to find a way to win in close situations. He's going to get sacked 8 times, but find a way to throw a game-winning touchdown. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I think if you look back at Tom Brady's early years, he won a lot of close games too. His 3 Super Bowls he won early were all last second kicks and a championship game.
The first 3 were defensive orientated, and then the ones after that were offensive orientated.
But you don't talk now and go, oh, Tom Brady's got 7 and 3 of them were his defense, do you? You say Tom Brady's got 7. So maybe this is just the Burrow mold. I didn't watch him a lot in college, but he was a winner in college. Like, maybe this is just what he does. I'm not sure. I'm excited to see it, though. I think this division is going to be really tough. If I had to predict it, I don't have the Bengals winning it, but I certainly am not going to be surprised if they do. I think they've got some talent.
The one thing you can probably point to here is, whether you want to call it the Super Bowl curse or, whatever it is, a lot of the time, the losers of the Super Bowl completely miss the playoffs the following year.
Yeah.
And you can sort of look back. For a while there, they totally. Now there's been some, oddities where, like the Patriots who lost the Super Bowl then went on to win it the following year. There's only one real example of that.
Yeah.
But normally we see a team who lose Super Bowl fall away, and more often than not in the last sort of 20 years, they miss the playoffs completely.
Yeah.
So that's certainly what they got to battle with this year, because a lot of the time they think we only need to top up. We need a little top up, and they'll put us over the mountaintop. Where often you only just made it. And I think this is a team who really only just made it. I really feel like the best 2 teams in the AFC last year played each other before the divisional round with the Bills and the Chiefs in that just crazy, crazy game. I know the Chiefs obviously lost to Cincinnati, but those 2 teams are the best teams in the AFC last year and would have put in a better shake in the Super Bowl. Like, I really do believe that.
I believe so too.
So it's going to be interesting. I think when we look at it, I probably will predict them to miss out on the playoffs only because that's what history tells me. Not that I don't have any faith in Burrow or that receiving core. I don't have a lot of faith in the O-line. It's just said they're all improved across the board, but they went from being bloody awful to average.
Like last year, no one even thought they'd make the playoffs.
No one had him in the playoffs.
A lot of people were wrong, and Joe Burrow was outstanding, and Jamar Chase, what a rookie year! Like, unbelievable rookie year. The best you'll ever see, and statistically, him and Jefferson the last 2 years have been unbelievable. So, I don't know. I just find it hard. I just have this real gut feeling that they're going to drop off and they're going to lose the close games they won last year. They're not going to win them all. I just feel that's what's going to be like. I think it's going to be like maybe the Ravens win all these close ones this year, and that's the difference. Because that was really the difference last year. That them scrapping out a couple of close wins, won them that division, got them into the playoffs, and then as they say, make the playoffs and the world's your oyster. Like, you don't know what's going to happen when you hit those playoffs. Sad.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. Let's give me your early division predictions from top to bottom.
I think I want the Steelers last. I think I then want Cincinnati. Oh, fuck, I think the Browns are going to be good. I do this every year. I hate this damn team. And now I hate their quarterback as well. I think if they go 3-3 to start the season, I just don't see how they don't find 7 more wins. I think they'll finish second. I think if we get a healthy Baltimore, I actually think they win this division comfortably.
I 100% agree with you with Baltimore. I think if they're healthy and Lamar Jackson was very good last year. Like, don't go back and watch his games. Like, was he perfect? No, but he was still very good. And if you don't think that, you need to watch football a bit differently because he's not your average quarterback, but God, he's fun to watch. So I root for guys like that. I think they're going to be very good. I think Baltimore, all things going well, are going to win the division. I think the Bengals are going to be second. I think the Deshaun Watson piece of shitters are going to be third. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be fourth. But as I said, this is one division I am not confident with in any way. This could go. Pittsburgh could win this division. I see a world where they could win it easily.
When we come to actually predicting it, the amount of digging into some of the numbers that's going to be required, like because as you and I know, everyone who listens, we like to tend to do these a little bit off the cuff without digging too deep because you get a bit more of a gut feel, and then we do the full-on prediction show. We dig in as deep as both as possibly can because we like to be right.
Yeah.
And one of the things I always like to go into is like turnover differential because that it's rarely sustainable the following year, good or bad.
Yeah.
Now, bad can often stay bad because it usually means you've got a terrible offense. And that's harder to flip. But if your team generates a ton of turnovers, like your Dallas Cowboys, for instance, who were plus 14 leading the league last year, that is hard to sustain.
Agreed.
So when you look at a number of wins by, say, less than a score, and you're really high in that turnover differential and your schedule got harder and how many Pro Bowl quarterbacks do you play, that's when you start saying, those 4 games that you just win, maybe 2 of them become losses, your record drops to only 8 wins and you're out. Yep. That's the line. That's the fine detail of the NFL. And
the Cowboys also swept the division last year. That doesn't happen very often.
That is so rare. Sweeping the entire division is so rare because you play these teams all the time. They know you. They know your players. They know your coaches because they prep for them twice a bloody year. And then sometimes again in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So when you really dig in, I still think this and the NFC West are going to be so hard to pick. Actually, both the Wests, quite frankly.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. I'm looking forward to it, though. I'm looking forward to this division. I'm looking forward to the season. I can't believe there's a game on Friday. The NFL off-season is so long, and it feels like it takes forever, and then it's on you. It's just here. The NFL season, it's just here.
I feel like when we watch this Hall of Fame game, literally they're going to say, Garraway's dropped back to pass, and he hits James Arthur going down the sideline. I feel like that's how obscure these players are going to be. We're never going to have heard of these people.
And it will still be better than college football.
No, you're an idiot.
I knew I'd get you with that.
I had a good time. I got my Jesus light around me.
You go. And I ruined it.
Although, what's happening with divisions in college football? It's really upset me.
Richie, funny you mentioned that. The boys from the College Football Podcast, Will and Kempy, they released a podcast late last week where they talked about a lot of division stuff. And I'm a complete college newbie, got no idea what's going on with it. So I found it incredibly interesting to hear them talking about all the division moves and that sort of stuff. It's bizarre to me, but also cool, add some excitement. I'm trying to get more into my college football, like the aura around it, not necessarily the game, because I feel like the camaraderie and the team and that sort of thing is what's bigger in college football, not the actual on-field play. So look, I'm excited for that. So the boys are back. They'll be back weekly. They've got a preview. I can't remember. I think it was Pac-12 preview coming out later in the week. They've already recorded it, so I'll release that in a couple of days as well. Sorry, boys, if I've forgotten which one, but get around the College Football Podcast. And thank you again to our sponsors, Burnley Brewing and US Sports Gear. Richie, thanks to you, mate, for being here, and go Pittsburgh. We'll see everybody next week. Have a good one.